Welcome to the very first episode of Laserbird Academy. This is semester 1 and lesson 1, and today we're going to be scraping the surface of web design. So here's what's going to be covered in this lesson: how this course works, why this course actually matters, what you will learn, and understanding the web. And then we're going to get into some inspirational resources, a few web design methods, and an actual hands-on web design tutorial. And then, of course, this wouldn't be a real class if we didn't actually have some homework. So let's go ahead and talk about why this course matters. I'm going to cover some of the benefits of the skills and knowledge covered in this course as I've experienced firsthand. Let's start with the benefits. Of course, this is what we are ultimately all after when signing up for or buying something. My very favorite benefit is having the ability to literally work from anywhere, like the beaches of France, for example. The reason I mentioned the beaches of France is because this course was developed across the world, including places like Japan, New York City, Texas, France, the Philippines, and Thailand. I recently visited my 27th country thanks to this kind of remote lifestyle. What I've found is that face-to-face is overrated, and what is really valued is delivering your work in the quality and timing expected by your customers or clients. As long as that's accomplished, everyone is happy. Hangouts, Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, and many more VoIP or voice over IP programs make working remotely practically like being there in person. Occasionally, a customer will want to see you face-to-face so that they can at least read your expression or see that you're a real person, and these video chat programs make that possible. You can work with team members, contractors, clients across the world without any noticeable hindrance in productivity or accuracy, thanks to a wide variety of free software available, which we'll be getting into later. As long as your work can be delivered digitally, location really is no issue. Screen sharing and file sharing software make viewing the content with a team like being in front of their screen. I've guided customers, tutored students, critiqued designers, and bug fixed with developers, all using this method. Set your own hours. Sleep in, stay up late, work with your family's schedules. One concern I've dealt with most often with my remote students and employees is those who have kids or family members with odd schedules to get synced up. Working out your schedule to pick up kids from school or having a partner that works an odd shift can be very difficult, and by having a remote job, it doesn't have to be. Night owls and early birds rejoice. You may not be an early bird, or you may get inspired in the middle of the night. Working this way allows you to take advantage of when you are most creative and motivated. My project manager gets up at 5 a.m. usually to start her day. This is something that doesn't come naturally to me. I often get like a huge surge of motivation around 5 p.m., which is when I start plugging away. The internet is one of the best ways to express creativity. Getting your vision online for others to see and appreciate can be extremely satisfying. Through the internet, you have an instant worldwide audience at your disposal. The internet is the best, cheapest, and easiest way to share your vision with a worldwide massive audience. Before the internet, you'd have to get picked up by a promoter, publisher, TV station, or distributor to be able to reach the kind of audience that can now be reached practically overnight through YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Possibly one of the most valuable aspects of this career is that you will develop recession-proof skills. You will have skills that are always in demand around the world, no matter what the economy is doing. The reason this is true is because every business, no matter how big or small, needs a website. New businesses are constantly popping up all over the world. And what's great is that most business owners know that they need a good website to be successful. 5 to 10 years ago, you used to have to convince businesses that they needed to be online, but by now, it's common knowledge. One key aspect that makes getting into the industry so easy is that it's virtually free. Use thousands of resources for free online to accomplish your goals, whether that's free stock photos, free music, free software, free marketing, or any number of other things. And I'm not referring to pirating or using copyrighted materials either. By now, there's really no need for expensive software. We'll show you the best software for every aspect of your web design business that are free or extremely affordable. We'll even show you how to raise money if you're short on cash. Having technical and design skills is one of the fastest ways to establish legitimacy. Represent yourself professionally and be taken seriously, which will get you more opportunities and help you to develop partnerships and gain customers. You're most likely heard the phrase, "the first impression counts." Unfortunately, as people, we're constantly judging and being judged. It's just part of our nature. In this course, we'll teach you how to quantifiably improve your design skills. What this means is that you will be able to know exactly what adjustments to make to your design to improve its appearance, readability, and trustworthiness. We'll teach you how to avoid the most common mistakes that most non-designers make. This is based directly on errors I've seen countless times in grading my own students' work. Learn what you didn't know and what you didn't know you didn't know. So this phrasing may sound a little confusing, but have you ever been in a class, spaced out for a few minutes, and then the teacher asks if anyone has any questions, and you don't even know what to ask about because you don't even know what you missed? That's what you don't know, and that's what we'll cover. We'll help you to navigate the jungle of setting up an online business, learn exactly how to set up your own legitimate business entity. That means learning what kinds of business structures are there, what the pros and cons of each are, where to get them established, what costs are involved, and what to do after it's set up. We act as a tour guide and point you in the right direction so you're not aimlessly wandering. And we'll go over meta-learning. So what is this? Well, this refers to learning how to learn. The answers may not be immediately available, so developing the ability to be an online detective is essential. I've seen so many people who run into roadblocks and immediately give up. Meta-learning teaches you how to look at any problem or situation, break it down, and better assess the situation to know what steps to take. So you can take most advantage of this course, I want to cover how this course works in terms of the format and suggestions I have. However, you're obviously free to go through this course however you'd like. Let's start by going over how the lessons themselves are formatted. I want to be upfront and say that this course is a guide. It is not meant to be an end-all be-all. What I mean by this is there is no possible way for us to cover every single topic and issue with regards to building websites, becoming great designers, or running businesses. Each of those topics in and of themselves can take a lifetime to master. However, we'll be covering some of the most essential, effective, impactful areas that will serve as a springboard to launch you forward on your journey. The internet is vast and constantly expanding. What I really want to emphasize through this course is that you can virtually run a web design business for free or close to nothing through the wide variety of resources out there. We'll be covering some of the most valuable resources I've come across over the years. Studies have shown that most people learn most effectively when they get a chance to actually practice themselves. You will not get nearly as much from this course if you're just watching it. We will include reference videos from YouTube or Vimeo that dive deeper into particular topics. We encourage you to pause the lessons at those times and watch those supplemental videos, or at least bookmark them for later viewing. Taking notes will not only help you to process the information you're receiving, it will also allow you to quickly reference that material later on. We will have one or more interactive exercises in each lesson. Some of them are topics to discuss or just things to ponder. Others are hands-on. One way to really make the content real and to learn it on a deeper level is to relate it to your own experiences. For example, we may ask you to think about a particularly frustrating experience you've had on a website. Between lessons, I encourage you to talk to your friends, family, or coworkers about what you are learning in these lessons, particularly with the discussion topics, and get their thoughts. There may be parts of the lessons that are particularly dense with information, so don't worry if you need to pause the video and catch up or even rewind and watch it over again. Repetition can be really helpful in learning new topics. At the end of most lessons, there will be screen-captured tutorials where I literally show you how to implement the principles covered in the video. I know in my own experience, watching someone else do it while explaining it is extremely helpful since I tend to be more of a visual learner. For the hands-on tutorial portions, even though it may take more time up front, I find that watching the video once first and just taking notes can be the most effective overall way than trying to follow along with the video the first time around. Then, when you follow along, you will have seen the overall process rather than being too focused on the step-by-step aspects. At the end of each lesson, we will have homework. The homework, like I mentioned earlier, gives you an opportunity to replicate the techniques and thus helps you to process and remember them better. It may be tempting to skip this part, but this is where the real long-term learning takes place. And we will have quizzes as well. This isn't to bore or torture you, but like the homework, this is all part of the learning process to help you internalize and solidify the information covered. Discussions are one of the most effective tools on this course. These will allow you to give and receive feedback with classmates, even the Laserbird team. This is also a great place for you to get questions answered if you're having trouble with a particular topic or tutorial. We will be scheduling live webinars on the site where you can get live demos or answers in response to questions you have. We will also record the previous week's webinar for you to review at your convenience in case you can't make the live sessions. This course is set up for both group settings and for individuals taking this course on their own. I'll be covering some ways that may work optimally for each scenario. For groups and classrooms, you may be under some time constraints, so here are some suggestions that may help things go more smoothly. During the exercises, take a few minutes, usually 1 to 5, to allow a few people to answer and discuss the topics. Unless you have several hours, I recommend keeping these discussions somewhat short to allow enough time for the entire lesson. Critique is one of the scariest things for designers starting out because it can often be seen as being made fun of or being put down. However, critiques are one of the best ways to learn from others things that you don't personally see that would really improve your designs. Every design project goes through some sort of critique, so it's good to get used to this as soon as possible. For groups, really take advantage of the forum on the website. Comment on each other's work, ask questions, post interesting links you found. All of this helps build community and excitement. If you want to give each other a chance to share, a good option is to have everyone pair off and share with each other for a few minutes during the exercise and discussion portions of the lesson. If you've enrolled yourself and you're going on this journey solo, here are some tips that can help enhance your experience and allow you to have some level of interaction, even if you're not in a classroom setting. If you don't have a partner to discuss with, write your thoughts down either in the forum area or your own personal notes. Having your thoughts in writing will help solidify them as well as give you something to refer back to in the future. Whether you post on the Laserbird forum or post on another design forum, put your work out there where others can get a chance to review and critique your work. This will do wonders to accelerate your skills and knowledge. I encourage you to share with people in your life what you are learning and designing. If you live with them, you can ask them if they have a few minutes to talk about what you're learning, or you can call them if you live by yourself. The very first topic we'll be covering is the design process and what's involved, and I've grouped it up into 4 main sections, which are discovery and asset gathering, design and development, refinement and testing, and launch and marketing. So we're going to start with the discovery and asset gathering stage first. This fundamental stage is absolutely essential because this is where you sit down with the client and you actually figure out what you're working with. So during the discovery process, it's more of like a soul searching with the client where they try to figure out what is it that they're actually selling and what they're passionate about. And then during the asset gathering, you figure out what kinds of things are you working with in terms of graphics, images, writing, and so forth. The design and development phase is where the actual construction and layout of the site takes place. This is where, based on what has been discussed in the discovery phase, you arrange all the assets and content into a cohesive visual experience to achieve the client's goals. The difference between design and development is that design deals with more of the visual aspects of the site, such as color, layout, type, user experience, and so forth, while development has to do with the coding and programming that goes into making the site or app functional. It is extremely rare that any website or app will be perfect the first time around. Practically every project will go through a phase where various people review, test, and critique every aspect of it. This is the phase where the user experience, aesthetic, and functionality get all the kinks worked out. This also means testing the site on every device like smartphones, tablets, and different sized monitors to make sure it looks great on all of them. And finally, there's launch and marketing. You may have heard the phrase, build it and they will come. However, this is rarely the case with web design. There are billions of websites out there, and it's extremely unlikely that your website that you just built is going to show up at the very top of everyone's Google searches. In order to get attention and traffic, you must put your site out there in the public view. This means posting links in social media, doing email marketing, optimizing your keywords on your site, and so forth. Being a web designer is not just about making pretty layouts, but there are some important technical aspects that are necessary to understand in order to know how to work through the process of setting up a site and making sure it runs well. PBS Offbook put together an amazing video called The Art of Web Design, where they have done a fantastic job of summarizing these various aspects of the web in a very condensed, entertaining video. I encourage you to pause and watch this video and come back to the lesson, or feel free to watch later at your leisure. Another really entertaining and educational channel is DNews. They did a short video explaining the technical aspects of how the actual internet works. Some of the content may go over your head, but it's good to have a basic understanding of how all of this is possible. This makes it helpful when dealing with things like DNS records, IP addresses, connecting domains, MX records, etc., which do all eventually come up when building and connecting a website to a domain name. Sometimes you may experience a writer's block of sorts when building a new site. This is when having inspirational resources really comes in handy. It's helpful to see what has already been done to spark some ideas rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. Behance.net is one of my favorite websites for seeing some of the top designs in the world. Think of it like the Facebook of design. You can search by type of work, such as photography, illustration, or branding, and then pair that with a particular keyword in order to get the gears turning and see what people have done in that particular case. Designspiration is another great resource for seeing beautiful, innovative designs. And Reddit, if you've never been on it, is a fantastic resource for finding links, articles, advice, and discussions on virtually any topic you can think of. There happens to be a subreddit called Internet is Beautiful, where users post some of the most innovative, inspiring websites I've ever seen. This can really stretch your imagination in terms of seeing what's possible on the web. Web_design is another subreddit specifically for web design. I recommend posting your work here also to get feedback, but don't go on there with an ego because users tend to be pretty blunt and unfiltered when it comes to giving their opinions. But it can nonetheless be very helpful. Awards with 3 W's is a community-curated gallery of sites that have been voted on by the users, so you are pretty well guaranteed to see some of the most beautiful, innovative sites here. In the final section of this video, I'll present to you some of the top ways to build your website. Some of them are free, some of them are very cheap, some involve coding, some don't, and I'll list the pros and cons for each. And ultimately, I'll tell you which method we're going to be going with for this series. Wix has recently taken the web by storm now that they've received huge amounts of funding and have become a publicly traded company. They are, in my opinion, the best way to quickly build an elegant, codeless website, sometimes within minutes. The main advantage to Wix is that it offers codeless design. Now, the reason this is so valuable, especially for beginners, is that learning to code can actually take a huge amount of time just to build the structure of the site. Not only that, but the actual aesthetic and the functionality and making it mobile friendly. So if you can cut out that entire process of learning all that code, that can save you a ton of time. And if you're working with a team, it can save you money as well. And it's mobile friendly. Now, this is absolutely essential these days since, believe it or not, the majority of web traffic actually comes from mobile devices. So you really need to have a great-looking website on both mobile and desktop. Wix does offer a free version as well as various paid versions, each with their own special features. It's great to be able to throw up a quick website for free if you need to. But for the paid versions, they have things like e-commerce and connecting your domain name and things like that. Wix has put a huge effort into beefing up their SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization, which is something that we'll be getting into much more in the later lessons. This essentially means that websites will be much easier to find when searching for them. One feature that makes Wix so powerful is their robust app market. This is where most codeless web design platforms fall short. There are literally hundreds of apps that have been developed by Wix and third-party developers, which dramatically expand what you can do with your website. With Wix's e-commerce platform, you can sell both digital and physical products with one of the most sophisticated platforms that I've seen. You can set up promo codes, calculate tax and shipping, create categories, and much more. Email marketing is built in, which allows you to get subscribers right on the site and then send them professional-looking graphical emails. There are all sorts of automation rules that can do other things like automatically send your subscribers welcome emails or sending thank you emails to those who purchased from your online store. One of the latest features Wix has just released that I'm most excited about is Wix Code, which is currently in beta. I used to say that Wix could do about 90% of what you would need in a website, and that for the remaining 10% you would need to hire a professional developer. Well, that's no longer the case. They now have a JavaScript-based coding platform that allows you to hand code directly on the website. Not only that, but they've included all sorts of dynamic features like database-driven content, dynamic pages, and user-submitted content. Wix Code, for me, really is the cherry on the top, which I think is going to make the Wix platform unbeatable. That being said, there are a few downsides to Wix, though. Even though there is Wix Code Beta and you could actually drop HTML blocks onto the site, you can't actually view the source code that runs the Wix engine or export the code for any of your Wix websites. If you want to get rid of the Wix branding and connect the domain name, there is a small fee which is priced competitively with most other hosting companies. Plus, if you think about how much money you're saving in the long run by not having to hire a developer, the price is actually pretty negligible. And you can't host it locally. Sometimes clients or developers will want to download all the files for the site to their local computer or upload it to another server, but Wix requires you to run everything on their servers. So next we'll move on to like a very close competitor, which is Squarespace. I used to live in New York, and I would see a lot of ads on the subway and in Times Square and on billboards, and Squarespace tends to appeal more towards creative types like photographers or artists or designers. And just like Wix, it's a codeless design platform. Now they do allow you to edit the CSS if you'd like. They do have a mobile-friendly version as well. It's just as affordable as Wix. I think their pricing might be slightly higher. They have different payment models like Wix does, but very, very comparable to Wix in terms of payment. They also have great SEO. They have some really great templates. So Squarespace is known for having very, very beautiful templates, and that's why most people go with them, especially creatives. They also have an e-commerce solution like Wix. However, in terms of the actual design, it is much more rigid than Wix. Both Wix and Squarespace are sort of like labeled as these template type solutions. Although Wix does offer templates, you can actually build from the ground up. You can actually start with a blank canvas and add individual elements as you see fit. Squarespace truly is a template-based platform. Like, they don't give you that option to just start from scratch. You actually have to choose one of their templates, and then you can just customize it from there using the CSS or their design options. There's no free version. They do have a free trial, but unlike Wix, after the trial ends, you can't continue using their service for free. They don't have as many dynamic features as Wix. Wix has the app market. Squarespace doesn't have anything like that. Also with Squarespace, you can't access their source code. Now there's another really interesting platform I found about a year ago called WebEdu. And it actually did a lot of the things that I wish Wix did as of a year ago. It is also a codeless design platform. They have a mobile-friendly version, and also they go a bit beyond mobile-friendly, and they actually have it be responsive so that it'll accommodate even things like tablets and different orientations. They do have a free version, and they also have great SEO. And they also have really great templates and e-commerce solution. The particular thing that WebEdu does that Squarespace and Wix don't is they actually have a client CMS, and CMS stands for Content Management System. And that allows for, if you're a designer and you build a website using WebEdu, you can actually have your client log in through a separate login, which is separate from what you use to design, and they only have access to editing certain content, like swapping out an image or editing the text, but they actually can't touch the layout. And another key advantage that Wix and Squarespace don't have is you can actually export your code. So you can design the site using their visual editor and then just export the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And if you wanted at that point, you could pass that code off to a developer and have them do something, add database functionality or more dynamic features, and be hosted wherever you wanted it to. So those last two are really major advantages that WebEdu has that Squarespace and Wix don't. Some cons: it doesn't have as many dynamic features as Wix just because it's lacking that app market. Again, you can't access the source code, and I know it can get kind of confusing where I talk about it can export this code and you can edit this code and that, but you can't actually get to the core of WebEdu's code or their tools. You can only export the code from the final result of your website. It doesn't really have a robust blogging platform, and the e-commerce is rather limited compared to what Wix can do. And then there's Webflow, which I feel like this is a transitional site to, for people that are kind of both designers and coders. It really acts like a visual coding platform, but it is a codeless design platform. They do make a mobile-friendly version. They do have a free version. The tools they have design-wise are very advanced. They have great templates, amazing design, and you can actually set up a client CMS, and you can export your code a lot like WebEdu. But some disadvantages or cons are that it's not as user-friendly as any of the others I mentioned, and it doesn't have as many dynamic features like Wix, again, due to the lack of a app market. And then we have WordPress. Now WordPress has two versions. There's the .org and there's the .com. And with .org, you can actually download their entire platform and upload it to whatever server you want. So some pros are you could technically build a site codelessly, but it would rely on you finding pre-built templates, using a lot of plugins that are available. It would just be dependent upon pre-built templates and plugins. But if you don't have any functionality design-wise built into one of those templates or plugins, you're going to have to code it. But again, you can access the code if you need to. Every single line of code you have full access to. There is a free version. You just download their platform and you can upload it to whatever server you want. It has a massive community. There's thousands of templates out there. You can host it wherever you want. It doesn't have to be on their servers. They especially have a great reputation for having great SEO. And it's great for blogging because it was originally built as a blogging platform. So they have tons of great blogging features. However, like I was saying earlier, you practically need a developer if you want to go at all beyond the scope of what's available with the template. And it's been my experience running a web design firm and having done client websites using WordPress where there's almost inevitably going to be times where the client asks for something that's not accommodated in the template or with the plugins. You have to find a developer who's going to go in and jimmy rig it or edit the code to do precisely what you want it to do. The CMS can be kind of confusing. I don't think it's really intuitive. So sometimes you have to look in the widgets or the blogging or in plugins in order to edit things, or you have to pull up the code editor for something specific. So unless you really know the system, it's not that intuitive in terms of how to get around and how to change the things you want to change. Next, there's no real drag and drop design like there is in Wix or any other design software. Now there are themes and plugins out there that exist, but again, you're working within their limitations. So it's not inherent to WordPress that you have the ability just to drag elements around and change things however you want to change them. And there's bloated third-party code. Now, WordPress already has a pretty heavy code base. It's not very lightweight compared to a lot of times when my team would use PHP frameworks, which would be able to get a lot of the same functionality, but with a fraction of the code. So not only does WordPress have a pretty heavy code base, but if you're working with multiple third-party plugins, oftentimes they're going to be conflicting with each other. And you'll have a site have a glitch, and then sometimes you won't know why. You have to go one by one and check all the other third-party plugins and just see which one of them is causing the conflict. So in terms of bug fixing, that can be sometimes very difficult. I mentioned hand coding a bit and having a developer. So one option, of course, is just to code your site from scratch. There's plenty of pros to that. One is that there's endless possibilities. So by being the coder, you can really have it do anything you want because you're the author of the code. Everything's completely custom down to the last letter. And there's thousands of scripts out there online for free that you can get a hold of and you can make use of and just have a whole patchwork of various code frameworks and plugins and scripts that you can custom code and organize together. However, what comes along with this is the need to know how to code. And that can be pretty time consuming since any modern sophisticated website incorporates dozens of languages and frameworks together, and you have to really know a lot in order to put together any professional level website. And so it can take months to learn any one of these coding languages proficiently, and then even more months to have them work together. And of course, you're going to run into bug fixing. I know from my experience, that can involve the experience of just sitting there and trying to figure out what single syntax error was causing this whole thing to shut down. And sometimes it can take hours. So there's really a lot that goes into learning code, and that's just the coding aspect. That doesn't even include the design aspect. So after having evaluated all these various frameworks for you guys, the one that we're going to go with is Wix, simply because it combines sort of the best of all those worlds together. It's free. They have the templates. It's a drag and drop visual design software. They have tons of features and plugins that you can get a hold of. So now I'm going to go into doing an actual Wix tutorial. And so what's going to happen in this tutorial is you're going to get familiar with the interface. You're going to browse some of the many features that are available. And to keep the video from being extremely lengthy, we're only going to cover some of the real essential tools. And we're going to look at some available assets to use. And we're going to build and launch a custom site rapidly. I'm going to go through this tutorial in about 30 minutes, and that's how much time it's going to take to get a template and to customize it with our own content and then launch it. We're going to be very, very quickly creating an event page using one of Wix's free templates and posting it for free. What we're going to do first is just go to wix.com. So if you're not there already, go ahead and go there. And we can click Start Now, or we can actually just go to Templates. So I'm going to click Templates. Wix has hundreds of beautiful templates to pick from, ranging in all sorts of different categories. So in this case, I just want to create a really quick event page. So on the side here, I'm going to scroll to Events, and I'm going to click that. And this is the template that I want. Now, in Wix's templates, they give you two options. You can either view it, where you can just kind of browse it and see what it looks like, or you can edit it. So since I'm in a hurry, I'm just going to click Edit, and it's asking me to sign in. So I'm just going to sign in with my login. And now it's loading the editor. All right, so they start us off with an introduction video, which if you have time, I encourage you to watch it. They're very informative, and they have a whole library of tutorial videos explaining all the various features. But for now, I'm just going to skip that and just get to business. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get you very briefly familiar with the different sections of the site, so you know where to go in the future. So I'll just start in the top left. If we click here, this is our page menu. So this is showing all the pages and links that are going to show up. So I'm just going to start home. And for every one of these pages, if you want to go into options like changing the title, or you want to update the SEO, or duplicate it, or delete it, or hide it from the menu, all of those options are here by clicking this white circle. And then you can always go and add a new page if you want to. So I'm going to close out. The next thing to look at is all of these buttons here on the left. I'm going to go to the ones that are just important to us, but the background is going to do obviously what you think I might do, and that's to change the background of the page. Now in this particular site, you'll see we actually have several different backgrounds. We have like this reddish magenta background, this white background, we have this navy blue background. And these are all using, and we even have an image background, and these are all using strips, which I'll get into just in a little bit. You'll also notice there's all sorts of helpful tips that pop up. They really try to be helpful in helping you to understand the site. So I'm going to close that down. The add menu, this is where if you want to add anything to the site, whether that's text or an image or even an image gallery, or even slideshows, videos, music, social media buttons, anything you can think of is in this add menu. And I'll get to that a little bit later. Next is the app market. So anything that's not included in the original add menu is here. And this is a place for professional web developers to build and submit their own third-party apps to Wix's marketplace. Now, many of these are free. Some of them are trial-based. Many are built by Wix and many are built by third-party developers, but there's hundreds of different apps to pick from, and you can quickly just search by going to category, or you can even search for a particular app. Next is the upload menu. So you can actually upload your own custom fonts here. You can upload your own images, which I'll be doing in this tutorial. You can upload videos, which can be used for video backgrounds. You can upload music. So if you want to build a band website, or if you want to have a podcast or something like that, you can upload MP3s and other audio files. And then you can actually add documents. Next, for those who blog, Wix has a very robust, comprehensive blogging software, which I think rivals WordPress, which is currently known as the leading blog software. And you can even book appointments, and you can even charge money through your website to have people book appointments with you. And depending on which app you add to the site, there will be other relevant app buttons that get added here. Next, I want to show you that you can actually optimize the website for mobile. So if we click the phone icon and then we switch to Edit Mobile View, you can see Wix has automatically optimized the layout for mobile versions. It's done a really great job of just making everything really easy and accessible. So I'm going to switch back by clicking here, going to the desktop editor. And over here we have some other helpful tools. These help with copying, pasting, and deleting, changing the stacking order, adjusting alignment, angles, and if you want to get very precise with the exact pixel width and height and positions, all of those things are available here. I actually don't need any of that, so I'm going to close it. And I'm actually just going to jump right into making adjustments to this site. Now, right now, I feel like the page is kind of cluttered. So there's this little icon right here. If we click that, it's actually going to hide a lot of the controls and just make the layout just a little bit more decluttered. So I want to point out that in Wix, every single element on the page is editable. And you can see what's editable by just moving your mouse around, and you'll see right here the horizontal menu is editable, and it's labeled as horizontal menu. Over here we have a logo, which this is a shape. Here we have text, and you can see that it's text by its label. And here we have an actual app right here which says Wix Events. So in some cases you can have several elements grouped together under a single bounding box. And in this case we're using the Wix Events app, and we can actually double click this to adjust the settings for that. Right here you'll notice there's this blue bar. This is an anchor, so you can actually have in the menu, by clicking it, it's going to scroll to different parts of the site. Using anchors is how you do that. So we have this big bright section, and it has this quote right here. We have a list of the speakers, and then you can see here it says grid. So these are all being organized under a grid gallery. And that's going to make it much more easy to manage these. We have a schedule, and you can see these are all individual text boxes. We have a list of sponsors. These are all set up as clip art. And finally we have a map, some more icons, and this last section. So what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to get some custom content to edit this and tailor it to my own sort of made up event. And before I do that, I'm going to show you some places where you can get free images and free icons and free fonts. So first, we're going to go to a site called makerbook.net. And I've already gone there, but I'm just going to show you the main menu. This is a site for finding high quality free content for your site. It's one of the best sites I found. In fact, it's an actual curation of multiple free resources. So under photography, we have all these free photography sites. And one I really like is Unsplash. So I've already opened that. And I've done a search for women. So this is what came up. And oftentimes we think of stock photography as being really cheesy and really corporate looking. But as you can see from this collection, these are very beautiful, artistic, high quality images. And so I've already gone ahead and downloaded several images from here. And the way you do that is you simply mouse over an image and then you click download. And they're going to prompt you to give credit to the person who provided that image. So this is all royalty free, and this is all Creative Commons. So these photographers have given permission for anyone to really use their images. The next great resource I want to point out is called the Noun Project. And this is where you can find high quality vector icons for just about anything. So I'm just going to do a search for women. And we have all sorts of great images. I'm going to go with this one. And I'm going to go ahead and click download. And then I'm going to just choose PNG, which is an image format. And I'm going to log in with my Facebook account. All right, so now I'm ready to download. And I'm going to choose PNG. And I'm going to go with Creative Commons. And here with Creative Commons, they basically ask that you give credit to the designer of the icon. So in this case, it's Gregor Kresnar. All right, now I'm going to let you know about your homework. Yes, there is homework, and the whole purpose of homework is to get all the lessons that you learned to really solidify so that you can really have it in your long-term memory and take it forward with you to the next lesson. What we'll be doing is posting in the forum, which you'll find in the Laserbird members area. And the first thing I want you to write about is what are you most eager to learn about in this course. So in this lesson, I went over all 4 semesters, talked about the individual topics covered. Which of those are you most excited about? And list 3 links that you find in the inspirational resources that you were most inspired by and why. So that's when we went to the section and we looked at sites like Behance and Designspiration and the awards website. Look at sites within those sites and then just examine them and write about which ones that you found most inspiring. And then follow the Wix tutorial video. I recommend that you watch it twice. The first time, just go through it and see what I'm doing and take notes. And then the second time, actually follow along and build the site on your own computer as you watch it. So customize the Wix template and then post a link to that site on the forum under the S1, L1, which is Semester 1, Lesson 1. And that's it for homework. So next week, we're going to be talking about layout design. So getting into the nitty-gritty of what really makes a solid and effective and beautiful layout. Thanks again.